Hello everyone, Simon Jacobson here. Another episode of Meaningful Live. Eternity in an Hour. This program is dedicated in honor of John Eisenberg with gratitude and warm wishes on his birthday. I want to share with you, I believe, a shortcut, if you wish, a method to relieving boredom, to relieving many of the maladies that plague us when we feel lethargic, unmotivated, paralyzed even, psychologically, emotionally. Now, how do you excite someone? How do you motivate someone? But also in a sustainable way. I don't mean a quick trick, something that's sustainable. And the idea came to me, actually, when I was challenged a number of years ago. I went to see someone looking for some support for our organization. He's an interesting fellow, very well read, a poetic type, but a person who God blessed with means. And I remember he challenged me. He said to me, I've been studying, listening to your classes for a while, very powerful stuff, but can you capture it in a line or two? Not because I'm looking for a shortcut, but I just want to be able to. And I said, give me an example. And he quoted William Blake's classic, "To see a world in a grain of sand, a heaven in a wildflower, to hold eternity in the palm of your hand, and to hold, one second. To hold infinity in the palm of your hand and eternity in an hour." And hence the title of this program, Eternity in an Hour. And I said to him, brilliant, but it's really the essence of all of life. If you ask me if I can capture in a sentence, in a phrase, what is the Torah's perspective or the Torah's solution to the blues, to the monotony and the boredom of life, I'd say it's exactly that. To showing how you can find eternity in an hour, in a moment. Think about all the magical events that have happened in your life. It's one moment that's transformed forever. Even though, if nothing had happened then, it would just come and go, like every fleeting moment. But then it gets etched in your memory, etched in your psyche, etched in your history, and forever changes things. The challenge is, can we bring the eternal into our fleeting moments? And that requires work. That requires doing something that transforms that moment into something more than a moment. The same thing with space, for that matter. To hold infinity in the palm of your hand. That means that in the palm of your hand, right now, you can have something that is beyond. And that is the essence of the bridge, the interface we create between heaven and earth, between the infinite and the finite, and between the eternal and the temporary and the impermanent. To bring permanence into our lives requires doing something that's beyond the moment. Because remember, everything in life, in this mortal world, is subject to the fact to the changes of time and space. Everything ages, everything erodes, everything deteriorates, and ultimately perishes. Except those things, those moments, or those experiences that you turn into something eternal. You do a favor for somebody, they remember it forever. That does not die. That does not deteriorate. That does not erode. And the more of those things you have in your life, the more eternity you bring into your life. But the first thing you need to know is that you have access to it. Many of us give up before we even try. By saying, I'm resigned to a world, everything, as the cynics like to put it, the more things change, the more they stay the same. Don't get so excited. I'll even quote Ecclesiastes, where he says, there's nothing new under the sun. A generation comes, a generation goes, nothing new under the sun. The rivers flow from all directions and the sea never gets full. But that's under the sun. How about above the sun? When you look at the people that have that sparkle, that have that enthusiasm, that have that feeling of eternal optimism, you'll see they connect to something eternal. I'll never forget my experience when I was a teenager. talk about eternal moments. So my parents, for the summer, they rented a place here in Brooklyn by the Atlantic Ocean called Bell Harbor. And they spent the summer without having to travel to the mountains or other places. So I would go visit occasionally to get a nice hearty dinner, my mother's warm dinner, but then I would stroll out to the beach. That night, very quiet, nobody was there. And I remember one night spending literally all night at the water. And I was watching the waves. The waves have that mesmerizing effect on us. And you think about why the Titanic has captivated so many minds and imaginations, the great ocean, humbling even the greatest of men and their machines. And I see these waves, the relentless waves, keep washing on the beach. And you keep watching them. They have a life of their own. First they rumble, then they are tamed as they get onto the beach, till they're completely silent as they're absorbed in the dry sand. And I was watching it, and it just, you're always like waiting to see what is the next wave going to bring, what story is it telling, what distant land is it coming from. And then I had this thought, this fantasy. Maybe I'll even witness the waves go to sleep. Do they go to sleep? And there's always the break, the waves get quiet, but then the next set of waves come rumbling in. The winds are bringing them in, some bigger, some smaller. And every time I was hoping, maybe now it'll just subside, quiet down. No, never. And I waited hours and hours, till the wee hours, the dawn broke, and the waves never relented. And what left me with this impression, you talk about eternity in an hour, infinity in the palm of your hand, I said, here is something right before our very eyes that does not sleep, does not rest, does not succumb to fatigue. It just goes on and on. It has that perpetual power. And I was thinking, can we find something like that in our souls and our spirits? When you see people have that willpower, that formidable willpower to overcome all odds. People who fight for something they believe in, that they love. A mother who's told by her doctors that she can never connect with her autistic son. Just not possible. But she's persistent and continues. And she connects. Not necessarily heals him, but there's some connection and people recognize it. Or other people fighting for some cause. They don't always see the results. And in general, in history, I come from the ancestors that had to sacrifice much, as many of you as well. And you see that somewhere they prevailed. May have taken time. It didn't seem possible. I'm sure many skeptics dissuaded them. Who do you think you are? But there's that type of commitment, eternal commitment. And that's when you change things. When you experience something, it could be a moment, but you brought eternity into it. I say it especially looking at the polarized world in which we live, which on one hand, unbelievable breakthroughs and advancements, but on the other hand, look at the hopelessness that many people, what Thoreau called, most men lead lives of quiet desperation. There is an element of that. The successes are so short-term, so quick, but lasting. You don't find a lot of that. You don't find people with a lot of hope. You could say, one second, technology has all these blessings, all these opportunities, these possibilities. But you need more than that. It's not just good machines. You need a spirit that's alive. When it comes to relationships, people are very cynical. There aren't many things that are sacred. Look how people argue today, the polarization in politics. That ability to just kick back. People do that for weekends and short term. But long term, you don't find, again, there are exceptions. But the answer is because we have to reconnect to those. It's something that is eternal. We just entered the 250th birthday of this country. I think about those days when the founding fathers were struggling, how to establish an independent country with real independence, Independence Day. The idea that all people are created equal, that are endowed with rights, inalienable divine rights, that nobody can take from them. Imagine the dream, the vision of a destiny of a new world, of a new order, of a new way of looking at things. How can we infuse that on a daily basis? And there's one way. You commit to something that is eternal. You commit to eternal values and you act on it. You share a thought like that with people around you. You can do it on a social media post and an email. It's so easy to do today. You don't even have to move anywhere. And these are the ways that we introduce eternity into our lives. And this is the antidote to so much of the lethargy and of the complacency and indifference and the apathy that's out there. I'm not talking about, I know people are not apathetic when it comes to making a few dollars, not apathetic about their own needs and interests, but I'm talking about something bigger. That sense that every spirit has, that we need transcendence, we need something that's beyond the here and the now. Something eternal, yes, something infinite, something beyond, and channeling that into our impermanent lives. Basically turning the impermanent permanent. Making the ordinary extraordinary, making the natural supernatural. Something all in our power to do. So it's a commitment we need to do, and that is the antidote to so many issues. Because when we look for that high, that novelty, we're looking for that rush of excitement, you're looking out there. Start looking inside here, because it's right here. It's how you infuse every little act. You see people, look at children, how excited they are. Look at their sense of adventure, their free abandon when they're playing with a little toy. It can be meaningless, but they get all excited about it. That idea of looking at something and dissecting and saying, in this little grain of sand, yes, lies tremendous nuclear power, atomic power, more than meets the eye. And how do I tap into it? How do I draw it out? I meet someone, a human being. How much power lies in this interaction, in the person I'm meeting? If their potential was actualized a bit, how much joy would come rushing forth? But we get trapped, encased, I would say even hardened, into this hard armor that officially protects us, but really what it does is hides us, conceals us and conceals us from others and others from us. So we don't want to be vulnerable. We don't want to be hurt. And as a result, what happens is you get trapped within, and the world outside gets trapped outside, and they don't have that the beauty of celebrating vulnerability, celebrating something that's deeper, celebrating the eternal. Requires a leap. It requires trust. It requires an environment where you feel comfortable doing so. But we live in a dog-eats-dog world where people, you don't know who's a predator, who's prey, who's looking to take advantage, exploit, and so on. So of course we develop all these defense mechanisms, and that the eternal springs within your soul and heart become trapped and locked in. As years pass, we get more resigned, we throw in the towel, we don't have that same spark. Sometimes our children, our grandchildren can elicit it from us. And I'm not trying to paint a negative picture. I think all of us have the capacity. I'm trying to obviously inspire it and stimulate it. But that's the thoughts that come to mind. And it's not just out of the ordinary. I'm not just thinking about it just out of the blue, Midsummer Night Dream, but rather part of when you see the world around you. This seems to me a way to go. It does not require medication, does not require any external activity, doesn't require even a price. It requires an attitude change. It requires looking for these opportunities, looking what the mystics would call those divine sparks, those spiritual sparks everywhere. Sparks is the word. Spark means it's alive. It has flame to it. It has warmth. It has electricity. It's alive. It's vibrating. It's pulsating. But it's beneath the surface. And the surface covers things up and we think everything is just okay. No, beneath the surface is brewing with this pulsating energy, waiting for us to tap into it. And when you do, everything comes alive. You see someone that's alive. It's not just one part of them. Their whole being. It's like dancing, singing. A type of cosmic dance, a cosmic song that we can all sing together. And each of us has our unique song, our unique spark, and our unique voice that also needs to be encouraged. We need to cultivate it within ourselves, within others. Be around people like this, and that too helps bring it out. When you're around people who are busy competing on a very superficial or surface level, it's not very conducive. So, my friends, there's a lot to be said about finding the eternity in the moment, finding the infinity in the palm of your hand, finding in every detail unbelievable beauty. Did you ever look at a flower, a small little flower, the petals, the mysteries, the secrets. That's what the human spirit is like. And you open the petals, it gets even more complex, even more elaborate. But it's not about the complexity, it's about understanding the mystique, the mystery of it all. And there's tremendous power in all of that. That's what the soul is like. The deeper you go, the more you discover, the more mystery, the more mystique, maybe the better word. It's like climbing the mountain where the horizon gets bigger and bigger to the point, wow, how much black space out there, how much black matter, dark matter they call it, dark space is out there. And the more you go, the more you see how much more there is to see. And that actually elevates you. That makes it exciting. Instead of somebody feeling, oh, okay, I have my destination, I reach there, goal, I can retire. There's a beauty to constantly feeling that sense of angst even, that there's more, and there's more. So my friends, let's use, as we enter the summer months in this hemisphere at least, I know people listening to this are in the winter months in the southern hemisphere, but nevertheless, the idea that we can find possibilities, and this is really what the season is about, is to discover that which is unseen, the unknown, and bringing it into the fore, and expressing it, especially in your own potential. Finding people that support that, people who encourage you, to be able to get back to that youthful spirit, exuberance, where we're not resigned and we're not jaded and we didn't give up. Hold on to that and let it grow. This has been Simon Jacobson, meaningfullife.com. Check us out. Please subscribe to our offerings, to our YouTube channel. If these words are meaningful to you, please share them with others. And I'd love to hear your feedback, your comments. Be alive. Dare to be alive. Dare to be unique and do something that has never been done before. Travel the road less traveled on. And that has made all the difference. Be well and be blessed.